Hi, Vancouver Opera. My name is Luka Kawabata, and I am so excited to be here talking with Audrey Patterson, who is one of our trumpet players for the upcoming production of The Magic Flute. Thanks so much, Audrey, for being here with us in your very intriguing background.
Thank you, Luca. Yes, this is my gym, Mad Lab School of Fitness. We're actually a training center or an accredited school for trainers, kind of like a culinary school, train chefs. We train coaches from all over the world. And our location is actually, ironically, sharing a parking lot with the Vancouver Opera.
So you've always kind of had this hive mind connection to Vancouver Opera, and it was just serendipitous that you would be playing in our orchestra this season.
Yeah, serendipity. I got a bunch of opera musicians that are members at our facility too. So it's there's a lot of musicians that come.
Amazing. Well, it's been interesting talking to performers of every kind and talking about the preparation methods that they go through in order to prepare for a production or to kind of keep their physical preparation up while they're practicing as well. Can you touch a little bit on the maybe the specifics of what being a trumpet player entails?
Well, I mean, it's a lot of breathing. It's a fair amount of high pressure
Hmm.
in all the ways. So basically, a lot of times we sit and wait and wait and wait, and then all of a sudden, boom, we have to play the hero, or disaster strikes, and that's what the trumpet comes out for. Doom and gloom or hero is usually what I get. So yeah, you have to be essentially prepared physically and mentally to pick up a cold instrument and just lay down your part. And to do that, you have to practice that. You have to stay in shape, both physically and mentally. You have to be prepared to just turn it on right away. And then also there is a lot of physicality that comes with playing any instrument, including voice. It's your whole body, and it's a lot of repetitive motion. And so just having strength and stability in your body actually helps with being able to maintain your playing capabilities, your chops, so to speak.
Yeah, it's physical in a way that I think people, there's a guise of the musicality that people kind of associate it with, but music is a physical game at
Yeah,
every aspect of it.
it really is. And I mean, we spend so much time sitting in a small room perfecting little tiny things. And it's easy to get distracted from the fact that you have to look after your body in order to have the rest of it really follow through. And then in the long haul, when you can do it when you're young, you can sit in a small room for a long time. But as the decades roll by,
And the
you have to
mental
look after
concentration.
more than that.
Yeah, I would imagine that doing things, owning a gym also trains your mental ability to sit and concentrate on something for a long time as well.
Yeah, I mean, functional fitness is really just like things that you have to do every day in life. So picking up things, carrying things, walking around, being able to support yourself, and just being stable, right? And there definitely is a mental component to putting yourself through a little bit of torture sometimes. Which, I mean, 10 seconds on one of these bikes over here, sorry, on the side, is not all that different from having to play one page of really high, really fast, really intense stuff. You have to be mentally there and willing to take a little bit of pain
Mhm.
in order to get to the end without just crying.
Yeah. Wow. It makes me feel like I need to look at my gym routine and adjust.
That wasn't the point of this. This just looks better than my kitchen.
Yeah. So you are also the principal trumpet player in the Okanagan Symphony
I
for the
am.
last 20 years, correct?
Mhm.
And I feel like I have some family in the interior as well, and so I've done that drive. But my mind automatically goes to like being in the car. Like, what music do you put on? What's the vibe? How like because I imagine that you do that drive pretty often as well.
I have resorted to being a full-fledged adult and flying as much as possible, um,
Fair.
because driving the Coquihalla and two mountain ranges in the wintertime for 20 years gets to you. And there's definitely been some near-life, near-death experiences that I have experienced and that several colleagues of mine have seen. But yeah, I mean, the road trip was always kind of interesting. You usually had one or two other musicians with you. You're all jammed in with all your instruments and all your stuff. Sometimes a pet, sometimes a child. And I mean, most of the time, it's stuff to just like goof around, sing. Like it could be Queen, it could be Hall & Oates, it could be The Outfield, it could be, you know, anything just to sing along with and like reminisce and have fun. Sometimes it would be, maybe we should listen to the rep we're playing this weekend. Or I found this hilarious recording we should listen to. A lot of times it's just silence, just to like kind of get in the mind frame of like, okay, we're just going on this big long road trip, we're not going to die, and then we're going to sit down and do 5 hours rehearsal after this. So it kind of just depends on who you're with, but most of the time it's just kind of enjoying the ride and just having fun that's not work.
Well, it sounds like it almost becomes part of the preparation process or routine to kind of to set you up. What would you say is the best part of being a trumpet player?
Being the hero.
Oh, love that.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I mean, a lot of times I'm sitting, in the opera, I was sitting in a pit, nobody can see you, so you don't necessarily get to feel that exact same feeling. But in the orchestra, oftentimes I'm sitting on a pedestal, I call it, but you know, they raise up the brass. And so basically you're sitting on a pedestal and you're just sitting there waiting, and then you get to come in with this big hero tune. And you know, once in a while it's really fun and the audience goes crazy, which is rare in an orchestra, but once in a while you get that, and that's pretty fun. Like screaming for the audience for the trumpet tune is really fun. But yeah, just kind of the feeling of like the whole orchestra building and knowing that your part is the thing that's just gonna kind of take it over the top, and that's principal trumpet definitely gets that a lot.
Yeah, I have to disclose to you as well that I played the trumpet for 7 years in elementary school and high school. So talking to another trumpet player, I always feel like an affinity to it. I also once played the very intro before it got too high to The Trumpet Shall Sound. And before it got beyond my current capabilities, and then started singing, which is much possible.
Yeah, you need a small trumpet for that.
That's why I couldn't do it. Yeah. So how do you balance life as a performer, as a musician, with the rest of your life?
I've had periods in my life where the balance was not good. And ironically, COVID was actually a really great time to reassess what was important in your life and what gave you joy and what helped you be just kind of your best self, or you know, the whole person that you want to be. And for me, sitting down and having time by myself with my instrument just to play and to practice and to breathe and to use the other side of my brain, all of that really calmed me down and gives me a different perspective. So if I was super stressed out, I would just be like, I know this is going to help. And not unlike going to a gym, like, you know, there's going to be endorphins after. And that's really how I keep that practice in my life, is knowing that I'm going to feel better during, I'm going to feel better after, and it keeps me balanced. So how do I do that? You just kind of have to put it into your routine, right? It's part of my daily routine. My husband knows that I come home and I'm going to make some noise and he leaves the house. And that happens every day. And I ply my neighbors with wine sometimes.
Yeah, you have to get lucky with certain kinds of neighbors. Sometimes you can get very unlucky.
Yeah, sometimes you have to find some other studio space, but
Yeah,
so far I'm lucky.
exactly. It's funny that you bring up COVID, because during that time was the first time that my partner heard me singing full out in the house, because usually he'd be at work or I'd be at work elsewhere in a studio, and he'd be like, "You're being very loud."
I got that too. Doesn't this hurt your ears? I'm like, no.
Yeah. Interesting that you talk about the endorphins and the feeling of routine as well, because I think it's always interesting to talk and shed light to our greater audience about what the experience of being in a performance is like. So how would you say that your experience as a trumpet player or as part of the greater orchestra, what does it feel like to be in a performance?
Ooh, I like this question.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, it varies based on what you're playing and how stressful the part might be for you. It can vary greatly based on the colleagues all around you, right? It's a team, right? If you've ever been on a sports team, I mean, I play hockey, so it's if you have the right players around you and everyone's in the right space and everyone's got the same goal, it is really fun, even if you're sitting on the bench, right? Which, as a trumpet player, I'm sitting on the bench a lot. Like it's just sit and wait, sit and wait, sit and wait, count to 100 7 times.
Wow.
600 and 700. And you know that like it's kind of passive concentration, but you still have to be a part of it. The other really neat thing is that you're in the music. Like you're surrounded by, you got music behind you, you got music in front of you, you're looking at your friends, your colleagues, you're seeing people doing things that they have obviously spent so much time and effort perfecting, and you can see when they're really enjoying themselves and when they're collaborating. Like it's just this really neat perspective to sit and watch people, and that's one of the really great parts of being a brass player, is that you do get that time to sit and look and watch the basses and be like, yeah, and then you get to look over at the woodwinds and be like, oh, they're nailing it right now, you know. So that's a really neat perspective, is just kind of to be in the moment but not have to perform all the time. And just being a part of that team, and just like you can feel the music. And I remember when I was pregnant, like you're even more aware that you're feeling the music because this other person
Wow.
is freaking out about feeling the music. And it's just like you're viscerally a part of it. And anyone that's been to a live concert, especially with a big ensemble, I mean, you're vibrating. And when you're on stage in a performance, it's vibrating all around you, and it's that's probably the biggest thing that's different being on stage.
That's so interesting. I love that perspective, and it really speaks to the notion of a shared experience, not just within the audience, but the relationship of the audience to all of the performers who are sharing experience together as well. Yeah. So we know that you are in the upcoming production of The Magic Flute, but do you have any other projects that you can share with us coming up?
Other projects. The Opera Orchestra is also doing something, I believe, at UBCO, a production called The Cunning Little Vixen.
Love that.
Which is trumpet and flugelhorn, which is a slightly different trumpet. It's more conical in shape, so it sounds a bit more like a French horn. That's always fun to kind of go back and forth. It's, anytime you get to switch instruments, it's like putting on a different costume. It's a different sound, and it's obviously a bit technically, you're like, oh, okay, totally different hunk of metal on my face. So there's that. What else is there? I mean, there's always Christmas stuff, which is really fun. Usually getting to play like along with a large choir and a small brass quintet is fun. Those are kind of the big ones coming up. There's an audition for the Opera Orchestra that's coming up. So
cool.
There's and then the Okanagan has we're actually doing a concert with solo ukulele for Christmas.
Oh.
Yeah, really excited about that one. And then I've got a series with a string quartet and myself that we're touring around the Okanagan just before that show, playing in different venues, which will be kind of an interesting mix of like some Baroque stuff and some, I'm going to try not to drown out the string quartet too much.
Well, it sounds like your upcoming season has a lot of variation and a lot of room for you to kind of enjoy different aspects of your job. It was so amazing to get to know you a little bit more, Audrey, and to shine a little light to our audience on the amazing people that make up our community. Thanks so much for being here, and we are looking forward to hearing you perform as the hero in The Magic Flute.